we just went over before we restart. The reason why you may not have a lot of people saying something right now is because they decided to sit and listen to what the lawyers wanted to argue about and go over. I don't have time for this shit because they was trying to play before lunch. So I'm going to tell y'all what happened. So when we came back, and I'm going to be talking fast, don't ask me shit. At 1:35, we came back. Sean Kelly's still on the stand. The prosecutor's person, Bot, he said before lunch we went over statements to 911 and Officer Diaz about the female shooter. They said now on January 5th, 2021, was that the first time that the female shooting or that the female being a shooter and that being a topic of discussion, is that the first time that came up? He said, yeah. They said, was it said in the dry run that, that's what happened? He said, yes. And then he said, at the time, I was ready to get to my son. I was alone, or he was alone. So he's basically just saying, I didn't mention anything about the shooter being a female, but I talked to the cops that night when they came out, and I was ready to get back to my son, okay? And so they said, do you recall who suggested a struggle over the gun? He said no. He showed him the transcripts. They said, does that refresh your memory? He said no. He said, with the audio help, he said, you can play it, but no, I don't know. He read the paper again. They said, do you remember this conversation? He said no. They said, you said when the short guy got out the car, you saw an object in his hand. He said, yeah, but I never saw the object, but I saw flashes. And they said, and then he was cussing at her, violently, right? And he said, yeah. And then they said, and then she fell and crawled over to the neighbor's driveway, and that Tory was the loudest and most aggressive. So recross, they said, when you met, this is the defense. Tory was the loudest and most aggressive. So recross, they said, when you met, this is the defense. When you met with my investigator, you were being truthful, correct? He said, yeah. They said that you knew that you were being recorded, right? He said, yes. They said, he asked me what happened, and he began recording me. They said, have you ever changed your story? He said, no. They said, when was the first time that they asked you or that they brought up the girl? Y'all see my foot popping on and off? That's a piece of hair on my face. When was the first time that a girl was brought up? Did anyone ask you to describe the shooter when they was talking to you? He said, no, nobody ever asked me to describe the shooter. So basically, they was trying to say earlier, you never said that it was a female that shot. But now the point is, babe, they never asked me. They asked me what happened. I told them what I saw at that time, and I was trying to get back to my son. That's what he said. They said, he said, no, nobody asked me anything about a shooter. They said, did they ask for any description of a male or female in terms of a shooting taking place? He said, they said, filter on the shades is crazy. It is. You see the lashes? Bitch, I don't give a fuck because it's smooth as skin night. So I'm going to keep it, bitch. Okay. So, yeah, he was like, no, they didn't ask me for a description. They said, the filter fucking me up. Bitch, get into them lashes and let them sit there. So they said, no, they didn't ask me for a description of a male or female. From Officer Diaz that you spoke to, they said, was there any mention of who the shooter was? No. They said, when you was with my investigator, you said that a female shot, but that you told Detective Stogner that a woman did it, right? He said, yeah. And he said, but they both had a gun. Okay. They showed him the paperwork. It was July 16th when they had an interview. They said, in that portion, when you spoke to the officer, did you say that a woman was closer to the muzzle? He said, yes. They said, do you want to be here today? He said, man, I feel very uncomfortable. And they kept asking him about the conversation, but he said he doesn't recall. He said, counsel stated that my investigator asked about a struggle for the gun, right? He said, yeah. He said, after you heard a gunshot, did you see a struggle? He said, yes. He said, did my client struggle with the person that you saw closer to the muzzle flash? And he said, yeah, but then he was like, they all struggled. And then he corrected him and said, I didn't see no gun. I just saw a muzzle flash. They said, you remember that one girl fell. And then you said that the guy got out the back of the car. And he said, yeah. And they continued to argue, and then she fell to the ground. He said they all was fighting. So they said when the shots were fired, you saw my client get out after shots were fired, right? He said, yes. He said, prior to my client getting out the car, did you hear the gunshots with the rear door open? And he saw women fight in and outside of the car. And it took me about 15 minutes from that phone call for me to get there. They said, did you ask for a description of the shooter? He said, I don't recall. He showed him the paperwork. He said, no, I never asked him about the shooter. So while they sitting up here trying to paint a picture, did you follow up with Sean Kelly? He said, over the phone. And then they said, when you spoke to Mr. Kelly, did he give a description of the shooter? They said he didn't know who the shooter was, but he said that the muzzle flash went off closer to the female that opened the door and began fighting with the other woman. They said, what about my client? They said he described a short guy and a tall guy. Okay, because obviously he don't know who the fuck these people was. They said, Detective Stogner said, the witness said that he specifically said he could not tell who fired the gun, despite anything that he might be saying right now. They said, according to the statement, he said that a woman was closer to the muzzle flash, and he ain't say anything about the shorter guy doing anything, and he didn't say anything about the shorter guy having a gun. They said, you were there to investigate, right? Did he tell you anything about my client doing anything? He said, no. He said he told me that they got back in the car, but he was certain that the muzzle flash went off near Kelsey. Right? Okay. What? If you won't find skin, work for it. No, bitch, just put a filter on when you go on Instagram. It'll be fine. Wash your face, but yeah, it'll be cool. So anyway, they said, you spoke to Megan, right? He said, yeah, over the phone. They said, with who? They said, with the attorney and Desiree. They said, did you ask Megan if she was intoxicated? And then they said she mentioned that they had alcohol at the party, but I never asked her how many drinks she had or if she was drunk. And they said, why the fuck didn't you do that? And then he said, I don't recall. I just didn't feel like it was something that was relevant to the situation. I'm still going to do this live. And if y'all can't hear it, I'll just go over the information later because I don't have time for this. They said, did she tell you that she never argued? Did she tell you that she argued with Kelsey? He said, she said that they all argued over leaving the party, but Megan told me that she primarily argued with Tori. No particular argument with Kelsey. She never said anything about a fight or why they argued. And they said, why didn't she tell you that? He said, based on her statement, she claimed that the fight was between her and Tori. They said, do you know if they got in a fight? He said, no, because Megan never told me that. I'll go back over it. Stop telling me the same thing. I'll go back over it. They said, did she ever tell you that Tori offered her $1 million in that interview? He said, Megan never told me that that he offered her $1 million. It was no mention of $1 million bribe to Megan or Kelsey. They said, did you look to see if Tori was under probation? He said, yeah, and he wasn't. They said, was there any mention of a fight from Megan to anyone that interviewed her? They said, no. They said, did she tell you that she didn't want to make false allegations? They said, yeah. He said, she said, I didn't even know I was shot, and I didn't want to get anyone in trouble with false allegations. They said, does your report mention George Floyd and bribery? They said, no. They said, are inconsistent facts important? He said, yeah. They said, did Megan tell you that she made a phone call to her manager at the bus stop? They said, hold on. Okay, duh. They said, yeah, inconsistent facts are important to me. They said, did Megan tell you that she made a phone call to the manager at the bus stop? He said, I don't remember that. They said, was there any proof that she called her manager at the bus stop? He said, no. They said, did she tell you that Tori got her back in the car? He said, I don't remember that. They said, did Megan tell you that they stopped at the bus stop? He said, not in my interview, she ain't said that. They said, who you talked to? He said, I interviewed Sean Kelly and Megan. He said, and they gave 2 different stories, huh? He said, yeah. They said, do you know if he knows any of the people involved in this case? He said, Sean Kelly said they strangers to him. They said, so he's completely unbiased, right? He was like, yeah. They said, which direction did Megan say she went to that she went when she got out the car? He said, to the back of the car. They said, so she was walking southbound facing the back, right? He said she would be facing the south, which would be towards the back, yeah. But she claimed that she turned around. He said, and she never spoke on her fight with Kelsey. He said, no. They said, was Megan the only one who said that she heard someone say dance bitch? He said, yes. Nobody said a damn thing about dance bitch. They said, do you know the difference between bullets and bullet fragments? He said, yeah, and then he explained it. He said, the bullets come out of the damn cartridge and they come out and they hit you. The bullet fragments is when the bullet break up, basically. Okay. Then he was done, cross-examination. They said, Sean Kelly, how long was the interview that you did how long was the interview, Sogner, that you did with Sean Kelly? He said 3 to 5 minutes, and I didn't take no notes, and it was on the phone. I just was doing a summary and going over what he had said before. They said, did he ever say that he saw a female shoot or have the gun? He said, no. They said, did you do a follow-up about Tory? He said, no. He said, you met with Megan on July 16th, 2021, right? I'm sorry, you met with her in July on the 16th, and then in 2021, correct? He said, yeah. He said, and on that day, did Megan say that Tory shot her? He said, yeah. And she said that she was scared and in shock. They said, and at no point did she say that she didn't know who the shooter was, right? He was like, no, she didn't say that. But he had just got done saying that she didn't want to make false allegations. They said, in 2021, did Megan say that she walked southbound? He said, that's what I concluded based on the direction that she said she went versus what a car actually was. They said, she said that Tory shot her and that he pointed a gun at her and he shot her. And then she turned her head, not her body, and she clearly saw him. That's what she said. They said, do you know Quan? And he was like, yeah. And he said, Jaquan and Kelsey did not want to talk to me at all. They said at that point in 2021, did Megan mention that Tory offered money? He said, yeah, at that point, she said he offered $1 million. They said, how was Megan behaving? They said she was very calm, somber, and upset. And then at a certain point, she cried. And then they said, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and take a break. And then everybody is going over whatever they want to go over. Okay? So when we get back, then we'll get into it some more. I'll go over all of this when I can. I don't know why it's fucking up. Well, yes, I do. But we'll get into it, and I'll go over all of this. We understood, like, what I said, and y'all got it, right? That's all that happened. So y'all good? This shit delayed, but I'm trying to let y'all know what happened. Okay, so I'll let y'all know when we go back. Okay? Okay. Yeah, I'm blocking whoever I see. They said she can see next to you with them shades. Yeah, bitch might be able to see your ass next. So, yeah, we'll talk later, okay? Bye.